This week's number 3 was last week's number 1, Raphael Varane. And that just shows the quality of our top 2 this week, because Raphael Varane has done nothing wrong. He played very, very well against Arsenal. Obviously, we didn't see him against Sociedad, but he played well against Arsenal. A fundamental part of why we won that game, as he has been for the previous weeks, with that 4-winning Premier League run. Last week's number 1 is this week's number 3. Why? Because there's 2 players that are more worthy. I'd love to have seen Varane hold on to the number 1 spot, and maybe he can get it back. But I just think Varane has been ridiculously consistent, and this is what world-class players do. And this is what Varane has done. He's going through his best period in a Manchester United shirt. He's fitter than he's ever been in a Manchester United shirt, and we need to maintain that. My worry about Varane is that when he goes on international duty, he tends to come back with an injury, and I just worry about that, because we've got a very intense October and that international break. I don't want this international break that's coming up in a couple of weeks anyway. I mean, we've got a World Cup coming up in a few weeks' time, and we're playing Nation Leagues, Poundland Cup games. I don't want to see it. And I know some people love international football, and I get it. You know, the World Cup's coming up. You've got to give those players a couple of weeks of, togetherness in preparation for it. But it worries me. It worries me when Man United are on a good run, that what that international break's going to do to us. And I do worry about this guy, because he's been fantastic for us, and he is this week's number 3. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with regards to that. So this week's number 2, he was last week's number 5 places, and his name is Christian Eriksen, and I think he's been absolutely fantastic. I do. I think he's been great. What do you think, Scott? I think he's been Scooby-Doo. Absolutely brilliant. I do. I sound like Ali McCoist. No, he's been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Man of the match against Arsenal. I loved the man of the match performance against Arsenal, and I loved the man of the match acknowledgement against Arsenal that was universal. Whether it was the press, the fans, the written media, everybody acknowledged it. And the obvious choice, the lazy choice, would have been to go with Marcus Rashford. I'm not saying Marcus Rashford's lazy. I'm just saying he got 2 goals and an assist, and that's normally enough, especially being an English player. That's normally enough for the media to go, Rashford was man of the match, and I'm sure maybe some people did. But the vast majority of people singled out Christian Eriksen for last week's performance against Arsenal, and it was fundamental. It was play from deep. It was conducting. It was tempo. Had a massive part to play in all 3 goals. And he was deservedly man of the match. But then I think on Thursday night against Sociedad, we saw the brilliance of Eriksen again. I know he only played the first half, but again, he was conducting the game with Casemiro. Sociedad created nothing in that first half. We conducted and protected the defence very, very well. And he ran the show. Then we take him off, and you see when Fred drops into that position, just how, and it wouldn't matter if it was Fred or McTominay, to be fair, they cannot do. And Casemiro can't do it either, to be fair. None of them can do what Eriksen does. Eriksen runs the game creatively from deep. Reminds me of Carrick. Carrick used to do this. Rodri does it at Man City. You are the conductor. You are the person that surveys in front of you and runs the game and sets the tempo. The orchestrator. And he's had a fantastic week, Eriksen, and he fully deserves the plaudits. And what a signing he's been. What a signing he's been by Erik ten Hag. We mentioned this quite a lot, that he obviously was a free agent. He'll be on good wages, but he's certainly earning them. And there had to be a persuasion not to go to Brentford and not to stay at Brentford and come to Manchester United. And we spoke about it at the time during the summer transfer window, didn't we? That if we were saying to Christian Eriksen, gone are the days where we could do this. I know you're starting for Brentford, but we're Manchester United. Gary, say it. We're Manchester United, aren't we, Phil? We're Manchester United. I've been up since 4 o'clock. We're Manchester United. I've said that I'm going to copyright it. Instead of getting Gary Neville to say we're Manchester United, come and sign for Manchester United, those days are gone. You can't do that anymore. Manchester United have lost the ability to say we're Manchester United. You can't do it. You've got to make it attractive in a different way. And I think it was very obvious that Erik ten Hag said to Eriksen, you are playing for me. You are starting for me. You're not Juan Mata. You're not a very good player that's not going to start. You are a player that's going to start for me. And we've seen that. I think he's played more minutes than any player for Ten Hag so far this season. And he's absolutely fundamental. And he's doing fantastically well as well. I mean, I think the top 2, and I think many of you can guess who's going to be number 1 as we build up to it. But the top 2 are both signings of Erik ten Hag. when you look at that is really important when we're 6-7 games into the season, that the top 2 players in our charts, and I think many people would agree wider, are new signings, Martinez and Eriksen, shows you that Ten Hag is a good coach. We know that, but also those 2 players are, symbolic of this team. The ability to run the game from deeper. There's still a lot of holes in this team, but even if you compare it to a year ago under Solskjaer, or a year before, or even back to Mourinho, have we ever had a ball-playing centre-back like Martinez, who's left-footed and provides balance to the back 4? Have we ever had a player like Eriksen since Michael Carrick, who can get his foot on the ball and conduct things? I mean, you're talking Carrick and Scholes, really. They're the last 2. So it is looking good, and he has been fantastic. You should do a poll where we make the top 10, says Alban. Alban, you should keep your ideas to yourself. We'll do it how we do it here at the moment. Thank you very much. Although we are looking at a poll, you make a good point. But polls can be manipulated. What we're doing at the moment with the chart show, by the way, it's not just my opinion. There's about 10, 12 people involved in the United Stand. So during the week, we have a bit of a conversation about whatever, and then we average it out. So it is done in a very democratic way. Anyway, this week's number 1 is the Butcher. Not Pat. Pat. It's not Pat Butcher. It is... I think Pat Butcher's dead, actually. Rest in peace. Pat. It's Lisandro Martinez. You might have guessed it. Smash a like on the video if you agree with Lisandro Martinez being this week's number 1. Obviously, it was Varane last week. Martinez was number 2 last week. Some people felt that Martinez may well have been number 1 last week, but Varane pipped him to it. This week, this is what we want to see. Climbing that chart. Number 2 last week, number 1 this week. Look, he makes mistakes. Defenders do. Malacia got skinned a couple of times by Saka last week. It doesn't mean you have a bad game. And Jesus was a real battle. But when have we had a centre-back that wants to battle like that? When have we had a centre-back that wants to get physical and dirty? And we're talking football here, nothing else. I know you'll be watching a lot of that this weekend. We know football, but we're talking about football. You're talking Yapstam, you're talking Nemanja Vidic. This is the type of centre-back we've got here. He, from minute 1, he's getting physical with the defender, trying to unsettle them. It is a physical battle. It is a mental battle. And Martinez reminds me of Vidic and Stam in the way that he gets involved with the striker. He's not going to make it easy. There's not a respect. Well, there is a respect there, but it's, we're going to battle. We're going to, the Butcher. This is what, I'm going to hurt you. And that's what he does. And I'm sure there will be some penalties. I mean, the penalty on Thursday night was a bloody disgrace, by the way. When I think about Martinez giving penalties up, I think there will be mistimed tackles. I think there will be a bit of physicality. But, he was very, very good against Arsenal. And he was a game changer. He was a game changer against Sociedad because the defence... And I know Varane didn't come on, but, Maguire and Lindelof in the first half, they didn't really have anything to do, but you never felt at ease. You never felt that they were getting hold of the game. Obviously, we shift Lindelof to right back and bring Martinez on in the second half, and he's coming out of the back 4. He's passing through the lines. He's being aggressive. I don't think Maguire and Lindelof did anything wrong in the first half against Sociedad, but it's a little bit like going round the track in a Vauxhall Astra and then suddenly going round the track in a Ferrari. The Astra is fine. It's not done anything wrong. It's just not as good as the Ferrari. And I think Martinez, thankfully, has silenced a lot of these stupid critics anyway, but...